Okay, I'll do this video for you. I want to explain the difference between squatting and a hinge. And because we were talking about calf pain and also SI joint, and I mentioned that the glute strength is really important, and also the balance in between the whole tissue that runs through the back of your body, as in neck, back, hips, legs, and feet. I will show you where the problem starts from, when it's around the pelvis, around the hips and the muscles of the glutes, and the ones that are compressing the nerves, and how to change it around. So we were talking about the fact that when you sit a lot and when the muscles of the glutes become super weak, other areas on that same line, they need to compensate for that weakness and they overwork. So especially when you sit a lot, because the muscles, like the piriformis muscle, it contracts and it creates this tension, it creates pressure, it puts pressure on the sciatic nerve. You can experience a lot of this pain in your legs and especially the calves. So when you're activating the glute muscles and you're bringing the muscles back up, it relieves this pressure. So the first step would be to release this tension, which is usually stretches. And I gave you those exercises, how to open up the hip. Just as a reminder, you're lying down on your back, you're taking your knee to the side, holding the ribs down, making sure that the torso is not coming up and you're not rotating your back, you're only isolating the hip. So you're bringing only your knee to the side and pressing down. It's a passive stretch, so you need to hold it there until you feel the relief. So first of all, you're opening it up, and then the second step would be the building up strength and shifting the muscles around. So first of all, I will show you a squat. I hope that it will be easy to hear because I will be moving further away from the phone, but I'll just give you a few demonstrations. Let me know if you can't hear properly. So number one would be a squat. Hold on. So this one is a squat. You're basically dropping down. And the second one is the hinge. So when you're doing a hinge, you're shifting your hips to the back. As you can see, the center of gravity, when you're standing, it drops in a straight line here, down. And when you're doing a hinge, this is your center of gravity. It drops down. So you're shifting the weight to the back. What usually happens is when you're not accessing those muscles enough, is that these muscles get weak, the pelvis drops, especially if you sit down a lot, the psoas gets tight and short, and then it's like you're constantly in flexion. So, if you're sitting down like that, you have this 90 degrees angle, and the psoas gets short, and then when you stand up, it's like you're in the same position, plus these muscles are weak, so the pelvis is dropping down. And when you're trying to stand straight and walk, you get too much tension here. Because you understand pretty much, yeah? All of that is not working properly. So first of all, as an exercise, when you're doing a hinge, you have to make sure that your feet are parallel. Because when your feet are in a V position, and you're doing that, you can see that the muscles are going in a completely different direction. So number one would be to position your feet in a parallel stance. You need to make sure that there's a straight line that drops from the hip joint through the knees into your foot. So they have to be shoulder width apart, something like that, maybe even smaller, depends. My hips are wider, your hips are more narrow. So the legs have to be straight. You're leading your knees over your feet. It's a straight line, always a straight line. And you're doing that. It's like you're seating yourself on a chair. And from the side, it would be like that. When you're doing this movement, if you're used to standing in a V position, when you put your feet in a parallel position, your knees will want to drop inwards. So a good idea would be to place something in between your knees. I don't think I have anything at home, but at work I use a small ball. So somebody would put a ball here. Let me see if I have something here. I'll show you the pillow. That prevents my knees from rotating inwards or dropping inwards. I'm making sure that my feet are parallel. If your ankle range is normal and you can ground your feet, your knees will be okay. If your feet they leave the ground because they want to rotate, then number one would be to work on your feet, but you can also do that, just a smaller movement. You're building the movement here, but also you're building strength in your muscles and shifting the tension. The second one would be a squat, and the easiest way to do that is to just sit more on low surfaces. So let's say instead of a chair that keeps you here, you want to sit on something way lower. I can explain later and tell you how to make sure that you're not going too low, because then you'll see changes in your torso. If it's too low, you'll see that you're starting to fall, you're not balanced, so you need to make sure that your back can remain straight when you're dropping down. And you're just bringing your hips as low as possible. It depends on your ankle range as well, how low can you go. And when you get, by the way, again, parallel feet. So when you can go lower, in addition to that, you want to add weights. So the second thing would be to either hold the weight and do that, or if you have a bar with weight, I don't have a weight here, so I'll just use a regular stick to show you. You would hold the bar and do that. That's how you're building this strength. When all of this area will work properly, this area will not be tight. So that's the hip activation. And ankle mobility is when you're working on your dorsiflexion. So dorsiflexion is when you're bringing your weight into the ankle. So that is the flexion of the ankle. Again, straight foot, knee goes over toes. The more you can go, the lower you just sit and lean into the ankle. Another thing that really helps to open up the hips is sitting in 90-90, meaning one leg is in front of you. It looks straight ahead and then straight to the side. So you have a 90 degrees angle here, and then the other one, 90 degrees there. I know that most people, because they know it from Pilates, they do this whole mermaid position, which is like that. It's not the same. It's really easy to lean into that. But when it's a 90-90, it really needs to open up your hip. So you can try doing that as well. When this becomes comfortable, you also can add a weight and start working on your mobility in your hips. Tell me how it goes. Tell me if it works for you. If you need any more help, I'm here.